Okay, you're live.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Okay, call to order the City of Sumner City Council meeting. The date is September the 10th, and the time is 6:02. As a reminder that council members and staff are attending this meeting virtually as City Hall is closed during Governor Inslee's Safe Start order, consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I remind the council that the meeting is open to the public via the Zoom link, and call-in information has been posted on the city's website and the council packet. And also a reminder to everybody, and it looks like most everybody is complying, to please mute your device unless you're specifically asked to speak, and in an effort to limit the background noise. And with that, if you could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance Okay, and with that, I believe that we have the Reverend Steve Starr with us, and hopefully the Reverend Steve Starr can be heard this time at the beginning of the meeting as a public comment. So with that, we can hear you, Steve Starr, and I would call upon you for the invocation.
You know, I really had to make a decision here, Mr. Mayor. It was either mute you or mute the football game, and you won out this time. So
it probably wasn't even, it was probably really close too. Yeah.
It was very close. And if there's ever a time we need prayer, it's now, with all that's going on around here and the country and the world. So let's go ahead and bow our heads in prayer. Lord God, we thank you that we can come to you, that we don't have to face problems on our own, that we don't have to be that lone soldier out there, or that firefighter out there, or that policeman out there, but that we can come and walk with you. Lord, I pray for this council as they make decisions tonight. I pray for our firefighters and our police officers as they have to be just weary and more weary and more weary, just day in, day out, hour after hour. Lord, give them strength, protect them, and Lord, it'd be nice to stop the fires here. We pray that will come to an end, and we just give you honor and glory. Lord, we pray for this country. We pray for what we're doing with the pandemic and the safety of so many, and just so many things, Lord. May your presence be here. Thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate the prayer, and you're more than welcome to stay on for the meeting, although I think you'll probably be swayed by that football game that's going on. So
you know, I'm going to listen to both at once, but I'll mute myself so you don't hear the score.
That's appreciated. Yeah. Steve. Okay, with that, Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Potato.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Whedon.
Here.
Hochstetter. Councilmember Hochstetter.
I think Councilmember Hochstetter may be having some technical difficulties. She was on the call, and I see the box over there with her name. So we'll go on with the rest of the roll call.
Newman.
Here.
Peterson.
Here.
Reed.
Here, I also have a pretty weak signal. There might be a internet issue over in the east side here.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. That brings us to the consent agenda. Michelle, would you please read the consent agenda?
Item number 1, approval of the minutes from the regular council meeting of August 17th, 2020 and August 24th, 2020 study session. Item 2, approval of checks and electronic payments in the amount of $877,000 $323.99. Item 3, White River Restoration Consultant Contract Amendment.
Okay, is there any council member that would like any of the items on the consent agenda removed for separate consideration? Seeing none, could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda by Deputy Mayor Hayden?
I move we approve the consent agenda as read.
Can I get a second? Well, let's see, we'll try Councilmember Hochstetter. Okay, how about Councilmember Botetto?
I second it.
Okay, all those in favor of adopting the consent agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it and the consent agenda is adopted. Now move on to a public hearing. And for that public hearing, if you want to provide testimony, please raise your hand through the chat feature. And I can call on you by either doing that or pressing *9 on your telephone if you're calling in that way. If you're attending via Zoom, you have the option to be seen through your computer camera. If you don't want to be on the camera, please disable it. The video, if you do wish to be on camera, there's a slight pause after I call your name. Please begin your testimony by stating your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. And so the time is 6:08, and I will open the public hearing. Has to do with the Station Lane right-of-way vacation, and I'll call on Assistant City Attorney Christy Palmer to introduce the topic. Go ahead, Christy.
Good evening. This is a public hearing on whether the City Council should vacate a portion of right-of-way that constitutes about a 6-foot alley that's south of the East Pierce Fire and Rescue Station 113. That's right off of Station Lane. This is an alley that's never been improved by the city. It's never been developed. The city's never utilized it for an alley, and we don't expect to have any future need for this alley. This tonight is for public input on whether the alley should be vacated. Council is not asked to take action tonight, but will be asked to take action on this matter on October 5th. This public hearing was set by Resolution 1560. It's required by RCW 3579030. Notice to the public was given pursuant to state law, and special written notice was given to the abutting property owner also as required by state law.
Thank you very much, Christy. So I would ask if there's anybody that is either calling in or via the Zoom link that would like to testify on this particular topic. I do not see under the attendees, I don't see anybody raising a hand. Again, I ask if there's anybody that would like to testify on the Station Lane right-of-way vacation tonight. I thought I saw a hand raise. Just a second.
Mayor, that was just Councilmember Hochstetter trying to get back into the meeting.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Seeing that there's no one that wishes to testify on the Station Lane right-of-way vacation, I would declare the hearing closed at 6:11. That moves on to regular business and unfinished business tonight. And that would move us on to then public comment. And before we ask to the clerk to read the public comment instructions, I would note that the public was encouraged to submit their comments to the city clerk by email before tonight's meeting, and so that the city clerk could read those emails into the record. So I would ask the city clerk, Michelle, if there are any comments that were received.
No, there were not.
Okay. So is there anyone that is attending the meeting tonight, either listening or watching, that have any comments they would like to make regarding anything that is not on the agenda? If so, please raise your hand. I may call on you or press star 9 on your telephone. Anybody that wish to comment on anything that is not on tonight's agenda? Okay, I do not see anybody that is either raised their hand or pressed star 9. So that would end public comment, and we will move on to new business. The first one is ordinance number 2745, amending Sumner Municipal Code 1506, code enforcement, and I would call on a motion by Deputy Mayor Hayden.
Yes, I move to approve ordinance number 2745, amending sections of SMC 15.06 code enforcement and authorizing the mayor to execute the same in a form as approved by the city attorney.
Thank you very much. Could I get a second by Councilmember Brown?
Yep, I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. I'd like now to call on Doug Beagle, Development Services Director. Mr. Beagle.
Mr. Mayor, he just joined. He might be having some issues too. Would you mind calling on him again?
No problem. Unmute myself. It works better. Mr. Beagle, are you with us? And could you address the Municipal Code 1506 code enforcement issue?
I'm here tonight to our code in 1506. We went through process is probably just a work.
Doug, you're coming through about 50-50, on it. And I don't know whether it's possible to get a better connection there or whether I'm going to put Mr. Wilson on the spot or somebody else.
Christy Palmer is available.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Doug. Okay, Christy Palmer, can you cover this particular topic?
Yes, Mayor. So this, we're bringing to you a proposed amendments to our code enforcement chapter, and that's chapter 1506 of the Sumner Municipal Code. The Department of Development Services went through a lien process through the state auditor's office, and the goal of that process was to review our current code enforcement practices to make sure they were efficient and that we have a standard practice that we follow every time. That was a very beneficial process for us, and we ended up coming out of that process with some revised practices in addition to some proposed code changes. So the code changes before you do several things. They update the code to reflect our new code, our new practices for dealing with code enforcement. They also outline and clarify several processes for staff to make sure that we're always following the same procedure when we come across similar types of situations. So those are updated processes for assessing penalties and issuing stop work orders, among other things. And we've also just kind of updated some outdated references to other portions of our code that needed to be updated. And so this is what we're presenting to you tonight. This went before our CD committee and got a due pass. And we're asking that council approve the amended revisions to the code.
Thank you very much, Christy. Any council members that have any questions of staff or any comments on this particular ordinance? Any questions or comments from council members? Okay, seeing none, is any member of the public that would like to address the council on this particular issue? Okay, seeing none, Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Newman,
Here. Yes.
That's a better one, thanks.
Reed,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Brown,
yes,
Potato,
Yes.
Hayden,
yes,
Hochstetter,
Yes.
Okay, ordinance number 2745 is adopted unanimously. We move on to the next one, which is ordinance number 2746, amending parking code on sections of 32nd Street East. And I would call on Councilmember Peterson for a motion.
Move to adopt ordinance number 2746, amending the parking code restricting parking on a section of 32nd Street East.
I second
Yes.
it.
Thank you, Councilmember Peterson and Councilmember Potato for your second. And I would call on Community Development Director Ryan Windisch.
Thank you, Mayor Pugh and members of the City Council. My name is Ryan Windisch, Community Development Director. And ordinance number 2746 would amend our parking code, and it would prohibit parking on a section of 32nd Street that lies east of the West Valley Highway. It includes prohibiting parking in a cul-de-sac that's right off of the West Valley Highway, mainly to keep from interfering with semi-truck maneuvering in that area. And then there's a portion of New Street that extends beyond the cul-de-sac further east, where we've had some overnight truck parking and issues there. And so the ordinance would prohibit overnight truck parking in that location. And as we've talked about before with overnight truck parking, it brings trash, debris, and unsightly and unhealthy, potentially hazardous things in those areas if trucks end up parking there overnight. So this is intended to address an issue that was brought forward to us by an adjacent business, and staff's recommendation is to approve it. Happy to answer any questions.
And this was also approved by the Public Safety Committee, I believe.
Yes, correct. Yes, it was.
Okay. Good. Okay, any council members have any questions or comments on this particular issue? Any questions or comments by council members? Okay, seeing none. Any members of the public that would wish to comment on this issue and address the council? Any members of the public that would like to address this issue? Okay, seeing none. Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Peterson,
Yes.
Brown,
yes,
Reed,
Yes.
Hayden,
yes,
Hochstetter,
Yes.
Potato,
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Ordinance 2746 is adopted unanimously. Thank you. That moves on to ordinance number 2747, amending parking code, which is new 4-hour limit on 142nd Avenue East. And would call on Councilmember Peterson for a motion.
I move to adopt ordinance number 2747, amending parking code to add 4-hour parking limit on a section of 142nd Avenue East.
Can I get a second by Councilmember Brown?
second,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I would call on Community Development Director Ryan Windisch again. Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. So ordinance number 2747 would also amend the city parking code and would add a new 4-hour maximum parking limit on a portion of 142nd Avenue East that lies really at the very south end of 142nd and is near our trail system and some open space areas there that have, over the last several months, been experiencing long-term parking, folks parking there for overnight and extended periods of time. And that activity generates a lot of trash and debris and unhealthy and potentially unsanitary conditions. And so this 4-hour limit would provide a reasonable amount of time to allow people to park there, enjoy the trail potentially, open space areas, but it would not extend to overnight stays and longer durations. And so that's the proposal. It did go to the Public Safety Committee. I had a 2-to-1 vote in favor, and the staff recommendation is to approve. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions or comments by council members? Councilmember Peterson.
So I will be voting against this ordinance. It is a clear attempt to prod homeless people along or potentially homeless people along. And I'm sure that our police officers have enough tools at their discretion to be able to do this without taking more of staff's time and the public's time on considering this. It's my understanding that there's already a law against doing things like this. So I'm not a fan of the amount of time and money that we've already spent on this.
Thank you, Councilmember Peterson. Other council member questions or comments on this particular topic? Okay, seeing none. Any members of the public that would like to address the council on this issue? Okay, seeing none. Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Hayden,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Brown,
yes,
Hochstetter,
Yes.
Newman,
No.
Potato,
Yes.
Peterson.
No.
Okay, a vote of 5-2, ordinance 2747 is adopted. We move on to ordinance number 2748, which is the 2020 budget amendment. And I would call on Councilmember Reed for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we adopt ordinance 2748, approving the 2019-2020 budget amendment.
Can I get a second by Councilmember Potato?
I second it.
Okay, I would call on Chief Financial Officer Cassandra Raymond. Cassandra.
Thank you. So before you is ordinance 2748. This is approving a budget amendment to the 2019-20 biennial budget. This amendment has two components. The first is in Public Works. The department has negotiated a professional services agreement that'll appear for you later for CIP number 1311. This is the 166th Avenue East widening and signalization. There's sufficient funds were budgeted in the stormwater fund for the stormwater design, but the roadway portion of the scope of work does require additional funds to be appropriated. These are to be appropriated from Fund 605. This is our transportation impact fee fund, which has sufficient funds for that purpose. The second component is our Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, or LTAC, met on August 20th of 2020 and recommended $70,000 in projects for 2020. That fund, which is Fund 106, our tourism fund, has adequate fund reserves to fund that requested appropriation, so we're bringing that forth as well. The Public Works portion of this budget amendment was reviewed and approved by both the Public Works Committee and Finance and Personnel, and the LTAC appropriation was reviewed and approved by Finance and Personnel.
Thank you very much, Cassandra. Any questions or comments by council members? I see a hand raised, but it just says council member on my screen. So whoever you are.
It's me, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, go ahead, Patrick.
Ed, I just have a question. And I'm not sure where this would land, if it's Cassandra or Ryan, but it's just kind of a clarification on the UW Tacoma portion of the LTAC funds for the study of downtown, especially Main Street. And my question on that, or my clarifying question on that, is that it's not going to be the same type of study that took place at QFC. While that was a great study and had great information, it had a lot of components to it that were not realistic on the ground. And I just want to clarify that this study will be more involved on Main Street itself, on realistic options, along with involvement of the businesses on Main Street.
I'm happy to respond to that, Mayor.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Councilmember Reed, that's a great question. And the intent is to end up at the end of this project, which is going to cover 3 academic quarters, so it won't be until June until we get kind of the final product, is intended to be a product that can be taken forward to detailed construction drawings ultimately. So unlike the previous effort that we had done by the UW-T urban design class, this is going to be also mentored by KPG, which is an engineering company that the city has used on other projects to help us keep reality in focus in terms of what is actually going to be buildable on the ground. And we're also definitely doing outreach to the downtown businesses during the process and others to gather ideas and make sure that we are coming with something that's realistic and buildable.
Great, thank you. That sounds great. And like I said, I really enjoyed the QFC concepts. It's just unfortunately there were elements in there that were very wishful thinking that weren't realistic. So I'm glad to see that it's a more on the ground type approach.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you. Excited that we are continuing to work with UW-Tacoma, of course. Ryan, I'm curious where the conversation went after our last meeting discussing this on pricing, especially as it compares to our previous engagements with UW-Tacoma.
Yeah, I talked to Ollie Medeiros, the professor we're coordinating with as far as using University of Washington Tacoma for this project. Obviously, he's happy to be partnering with us to work through this. Really, this is an opportunity, obviously, for the city to work with UW-T and develop that relationship even further. And he pointed out that the money that we will be contributing to their program is really for, to some degree, it's for materials and things that and expense that the students and the program will incur for doing the work, of course. And on top of that, it also sets up scholarship opportunities for them to support that program as well. And in addition to the money that we would plan on obviously paying or contributing to UW-T, KPG has also, they were happy to do this pro bono. However, their time would be limited. So I offered to them the ability to have some pay and have, some funding go towards their efforts as well. So we're kind of sorting that out at this point in time.
Okay, so the reason it costs so much more than it has previously to work with UW-Tacoma is because we're now also funding scholarships and helping pay the consultant fee a bit.
Correct.
Okay.
And this is, instead of a 1 quarter, this is a 3-quarter effort in addition.
Guess I better unmute myself. Good clarifications, Councilmember Peterson. Thank you. Any other council members have any comments before I call on council?
I do, Mr. Mayor.
I was going to get to you, Patrick. I'm seeing if there's anybody else before I call on you again. Anybody else? Okay, Councilmember Reed, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify because I know there's 2 parts to this. I want to make sure I didn't mess up the order of items here because we've got the budget amendment and then the spending allocation. I assumed those went in proper order, but did I mix the 2 together?
Mr. Mayor, I can answer that.
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, these are somewhat intertwined, Councilmember Reed. It is important we have to allocate the funds, but the second part of this, which is the next item on the agenda, is how we're going to spend those funds, or LTAC's recommendation and how those funds are going to be expended. And really the merits of the UW-T program to look at our Main Street visioning are probably more germane on the next topic than this one.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
But you have to do the budget amendment in order to be able to act on the next one, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments the council has? Okay, any members of the public that would like to address the council on this issue? Okay, seeing none. Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Reed,
Yes.
Potato,
Yes.
Hochstetter,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance number 2748 is adopted unanimously, which moves us to the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee 2020 spending allocation. And I would call on Councilmember Reed for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move we confirm spending up to $70,000 in Sumner's Hotel Motel occupancy tax as recommended by Sumner's Lodging Tax Advisory Committee.
Thank you very much. Could Councilmember Newman second that?
Second.
Thank you very much. And I would call on Communications Director Carmen Palmer. Carmen.
Hello, good evening, Council and Mayor. I'm here bringing before you the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee's recommendations for spending the money you just freed up in the budget. The first one, shocker, is the Main Street design through UWT. I want to thank, part of the reason we have an advisory committee such as this is it's required by law, but the bigger issue is to have members of the hospitality community keep us on track for spending things that really put heads in beds, which in turn is the biggest way to keep people spending money in your community, which this year of all years we really need. So they really talked a lot about this Main Street design and that it wasn't just beautification, because Main Street is one of the primary things people think about with Sumner, having a holistic design that really makes it a special place for when people are here, and also that they pull out their phones and take pictures that they share on Instagram and Facebook. They felt was worthy. So they were all in on that one. Same thing, the next one, $30,000 for Light Up Main. That is the project to outline the buildings. As developed by Dale Loseth and the, my agenda bill's a little off, the SDPA, which is now called the Sumner Main Street Association. And again, this was a long cherished idea to really bring life and vitality to the downtown at night, especially as we're heading into that time of year when night comes at about 4 p.m. So there's that project they were very appreciative of. And then also $10,000 to update the video that we have to show people what being in Sumner would be like before they get here. It's only 2 years old. It's amazing how fast a video can get out of date. It shows businesses that are no longer here. It also misses amenities that are here. Things like the Cannery Way Bridge, the renovation to Berryland, the new 905 Main and Electric Coffee, things like that. So you reusing it, just sprucing it up a little bit. We also would like to bring them in at a different season so that you see a diversity of times, and again, try to increase the diversity of people you see in it. So that is the slate of items recommended to you. I will also note that they were very careful and very conservative, which is kind of the Sumner way, to not spend a whole lot right now. They are mindful of what is the fund balance is. They're also very mindful of where the hospitality industry is right now. They know that a big drop in revenue is coming because of the hotel shutting down during the stay home order. And they also felt on things like Ryan House renovation that while they really loved the project, it just wasn't the right moment. They didn't know what the best use of the money would be right now. So they also committed to not wait a full year to meet again and bring you more recommendations. We will probably be doing that in about 6 months when we hopefully know a little bit more what the landscape is of the world of coronavirus and the hospitality industry.
Thank you very much, Carmen. Questions and comments by council members? Questions or comments? Okay, I don't see anybody. Anybody attending the meeting that would like to address the council on this particular issue? Okay, seeing or hearing none, I would ask Michelle to please call the roll.
Mr. Mayor, sorry to interject. We've had several people join us in the last few minutes. Would you mind going over how to raise your hand to provide comment in case one of these people wanted to.
Sure. If you go to your participants buttons, attendees, you should highlight your name, and then it would let us know when you pressed on the appropriate button that you want to address the council. It's either that, or if you're calling by phone, press *9. Thank you, Jason. So,
Mayor.
go ahead.
Just said thank you, Mayor.
Oh, okay. Okay. Seeing no one that wishes to comment on this, I would ask Michelle to please call the roll.
Hochstetter,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Potato,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Hayden.
Yes.
Okay, the 2020 spending allocation for the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee has been adopted unanimously. Which brings us to KPG 166, the widening consultant contract supplement. I would call on Councilmember Hochstetter for a motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I make the motion authorizing the mayor to execute a consultant services agreement supplement with KPG Inc. for CIP 13-11, 166th Avenue East widening and signalization in the amount not to exceed $672,047, substantially in a form as approved by the city attorney, and to amend the appropriation for the 166th Avenue widening project to increase the allowed budget by $98,775 from the transportation impact fees funds.
Thank you, Councilmember Hochstetter. Can I get a second? Was that you?
I seconded.
Thank you very much. I think that was the longest motion in some time, Councilmember Hochstetter. Thank you.
You're certainly welcome.
Says I'm supposed to call on Public Works Director Mike Dolan, but I see Mr. Kosa has unmuted himself and has showing his face by video. So which one of you is presenting this?
I believe I will, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Kosa, go ahead.
Hello, Mayor, members of the City Council. So this item is a consultant agreement supplement for KPG to expand the scope of the 166th Avenue East project contract that for design services that we have with them. As we all know, 166th Avenue East and the SR 410 off-bound ramp experienced significant traffic congestion at the SR 410 interchange and at the intersection at to the north at 64th Street. Additionally, an undersized and failing corrugated metal pipe culvert that carries Salmon Creek runs diagonally underneath the intersection, creating an unsuitable environment for ESA-listed salmon species to thrive and spawn. So original scope covered concept reports and initial culvert replacement coordination. We completed the majority of that scope. There was the transportation portion of the scope is fully expended, and there was a small amount of funds remaining for the culvert replacement scope. However, we at this point are requesting to expand the scope to complete what is more a preliminary design, which would be the lead into final design. And that's the time that's the time we have right now is it's time to start making those steps to approach final design. So this is a contract to complete any remaining preliminary design elements. KPG was selected to provide consulting services through a qualification-based selection process. The new scope that is before you is an additional $285,450. $161,675 is from storm funds, and the other $123,775 is from transportation funds. Additionally, the city was recently awarded a $25,000 grant from the Port of Tacoma for this project. So that will offset some of the costs of the additional scope. But really the benefit is that we're moving closer to a completed design for this project. So the roadway related efforts come from traffic impact fees, as we've already talked about. And the storm related efforts come from the storm utility fund, which they were previously budgeted for. So as you heard, we need to use about $98,000 of transportation impact fees that was just appropriated a couple items ago. So the item, this was due passed by Public Works Committee and mainly needed to come before you today after the appropriation was completed. So, happy to answer any questions or answer.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. Any questions by council members? I take it that's you, Councilmember Reed?
It is.
Sneaking up, I mean, when you don't show your face on this thing, I'm doing a guessing game. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Sorry about that. It seems to have a more stable connection if I'm not doing video.
Gotcha.
Mr. Kosa, I just had a clarifying question for the public that may be watching or may watch later. This is not the fix to 166 and 410 interchange mess. This is just another step forward towards the long-term fix.
Correct. So we are pursuing widening and intersection improvements, and this project that's what the project goal is. The actual contract or agreement supplement that is here today would be going from basically like a concept design to what we consider preliminary design, which is more advanced. So we're looking to advance the designs to be able to take the next step to approach final design, and eventually we don't have so we're within the design process in a pretty early phase, but we're moving the right direction to make improvements in the area.
Great, thank you. I just wanted the public to understand that if they see this, we're not approving a fix at this point, although we'd love to, but it is a step forward.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Newman.
Yes, I just wanted to thank staff, so Mr. Kosa and Mr. Dahlem, for keeping Public Works Committee abreast of this as it started, during the design, very basic review, and also just as importantly, keeping us abreast of their conversations with businesses that could potentially be impacted. We don't know yet, since we don't know the design, and continuing to do so. I just wanted to let, for those who aren't on Public Works, to know that staff has done a very good.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Newman. Okay, other comments, questions by council members? Yeah, I want to thank staff too, on this one, because each little bit that we move forward in terms of preliminary design helps us in terms of being able to get some help from the legislature, and helps us in terms of being able to get grant funding. And we're extremely tough times moving ahead on transportation budgets, but any edge that we can get will be beneficial to us in that process. Any other council member comments, questions? Seeing none, any members of the public that would like to address the council on this issue? Okay, seeing none, Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Newman,
Yes.
Eden,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Potato,
Yes.
Hochstetter.
Yes.
Okay, the contract supplement is approved unanimously. That brings us to reports. First is reports by the city council. Call in Councilmember Hochstetter.
Oh my, how nice it is to have power on again. It was pretty tough. You feel like a pioneer, but at least the toilets were flushing and the water was running. So, but want to thank the Public Works Department for how well they kept everything going for us. I know things got sketchy at different times, but we really forget how much those guys do and how really a small crew they are and how efficient they are. So my kudos go out to them, and let's just hope that the fire's smoke blows away shortly. So hope everyone's safe and enjoying their families. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hochstetter. Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, I'd like to thank all public safety employees for everything they've done during this terrible time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Newman.
Yeah, so there's so many people to thank, and it's been surreal watching the hill burn down in some of the homes, from my living room window. But I'd like to thank East Pierce Fire Department for everything that they're doing, tremendous unending work. And I know they're about to get state help. Well, they have been getting state help, but it's they've been the backbone to all of this. Same thing with our police department, Pierce County Sheriff Department, our own public works, but not just public works, but administrative staff that has to stay in touch with everyone. But also like PSE's power line workers who've been trying to clear brush to get power back on, in spite of obstacles to getting to the locations that they need to. And especially in just our own staff in general. Thank you very much. Oh, and the school district for providing all the meals. It was actually pretty impressive how quickly they came together.
Yeah, thank you very much. Councilmember Peterson.
More of the same. Thank you to everyone that's been working so hard, both on the city staff, all the firefighters that have come in, all the firefighters that are here that have been working so hard, and of course to our police. And just a reminder to everybody that there are updates all different kinds of ways. I've been checking the Sumner Police Facebook every morning and evening before I go to bed. So that's where I've been getting my information. They link to East Pierce Fire and Rescue. So that's where I've been getting my information. But thank you so much to everyone that's been working to keep us all as safe as possible.
Thank you. Councilmember Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to share my appreciation for all of the first responders, East Pierce, Sumner, Bonnie Lake Police Departments, National Guard, PSE. There's just so many there's too many to list them all. So I want to say thank you to everyone. I also wanted to do a little shout out to Sumner High School grad that's been doing a lot of information gathering and sharing. Josh Strickland has been putting a lot of information out there for people on social media, combining official resources from all the different responding departments and sharing that, answering people's questions, going and getting information when there's a question. People are really thanking him, and I'd like to do the same. Other than that, I'm happy that we're doing better. We're still not 100% out, but I feel like as far as the city itself is concerned, I think we're in much better shape than we looked on Tuesday. So thank you again to everybody, staff, everyone involved.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Botetto.
Yeah, I mean, I agree about all the people that have come to help during the fires, but I had a couple things that happened before the fires. First off, the Y has reopened, and they reopened on Monday. They had to close Tuesday and Wednesday, but it's just good to have them back in the community. Even, initially they're at a much lower level of having staff and the number of people that can be in at the Y, but it's good having them here. And next Monday will be the 5th year or 5-year birthday of the Y being here in Sumner. And then I'd like to thank Public Works. We had a little sewer problem at our house. And so last week we had, I think, like 6 or 7 Public Works employees here helping figure out if it's the city or if it's us. And we found out, we learned a lot about Orangeburg pipes. And if you have an older home like ours, which is 60 years old, chances are you'll have an Orangeburg pipe. And the John who works for Public Works, he's gave us the explanation of why it was failing. And when they put the camera in the pipe, we saw that the bottom of the pipe was failing, and then there's these blisters inside. So they got us fixed for a couple weeks, but in the next week or 2, we'll be having our front yard dug up and we get to have new pipes put in. But I just appreciate the way that they treated us, community members that don't really understand that much about sewer, except for when you flush the toilet, you want it to go. So I just think that they're a terrific team of people, and they really care. So they said, okay, I am getting elderly apparently, because they said, don't let anybody take advantage of you. And so they were very good about educating us, and we understand more than we needed to know, but apparently it's a good thing. So those are the things I have to talk about tonight.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Botetto. I feel your pain. Been there, done that. Orangeburg, it's just really wood, resin impregnated wood. It's not, that's why it fails. Anyway, we'll go on to City Administrator report. Mr. Wilson.
I think we skipped over Deputy Mayor Hayden.
Oh, crap. Deputy Mayor Hayden. That was following Councilmember Botetto's. It's a technical term they use in the industry. Go ahead.
Oh, crap. So I just want to jump on the thank you wagon, and I have a good view of the hill from my front yard and from my window, and I'll just be glad when all the smoke is gone. It's still a little bit of smoke, but not like it was. So I'll be glad when it's gone. And thank you to everybody that helped.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Now, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. Just start with some upcoming policy issues. So at next week's study session, we'll be starting deeper into the budget review process. We'll be focusing on the utility capital items that are in the budget. And then we'll also be discussing pride crosswalks and staff's recommendation on how to proceed with that. The following regular council meeting on the 21st, council will be considering an ordinance amending our storm utility code, an ordinance adopting our 21-22 utility rates, another ordinance vacating the Station Lane Alley right-of-way, which you held the public hearing on tonight. You'll be approving the purchase and sale agreement for the intergovernmental transfer of Station Lane parking lot to East Pierce Fire and Rescue, as well as a resolution amending the East Pierce Fire and Rescue interlocal agreement to reflect that intergovernmental transfer if it's approved. Our Planning Commission is meeting, I forgot to write the day down. They are meeting next week on Thursday to discuss 5G small cell and making a recommendation to council on the regulations to accompany that. Visit our website for the virtual meeting information. I know we've talked a lot about the events in our community this week. I just want to give you some perspective on what our staff have been working on. It's obviously been extremely busy. It actually started over the weekend when we had a large truck tip over and spill a large amount of cow food additive. And that involved Public Works working a lot over the weekend to not only get the truck upright, but then also to do the associated cleanup. About the time they got that done, then the winds picked up. And we all know that resulted in a massive fire on the east side of town. Our police officers assisted with road closures, evacuations, and responded to 911 calls in Bonnie Lake to supplement their staff. Our public works staff provided emergency power to our water supply and wastewater treatment plant and lift stations to make sure that the clean water was still flowing and the wastewater was going to get treated. They also closed roadways, cleared down trees, and closed roads for the fire response. Our parks crews have been working to remove dozens of fallen and damaged trees from our parks and trails. And then our social media team have made over 100 posts and responded to well over 100 social media questions in the last 3 days. Just looking at Twitter alone, since Tuesday, we've gained over 1,500 new followers, and our tweets have been viewed by more than 1 million individuals. Our IT staff has also worked hard to keep our network up and stable. We've transitioned staff to a backup internet connection due to the fiber connection being damaged in the fire. Overall, I am extremely proud of our staff's response, their resiliency, and their dedication to providing great service to and making sure that our community is safe. That's all for me tonight, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Jason. Yeah, I echo what everybody has said here. Normally when something like this happens, Pierce County Executive, which he did, made an emergency declaration and allows for resources to come in from the state or outside the state to be able to address the issue. Unfortunately, most of those resources are already being deployed because of the sheer number of fires that are statewide and in other states. Some of the other states are hit even worse than we are, Oregon and down in California. So as a result, we had little support from the outside, and it really had to rely on a coordination of efforts by local agencies and cooperation between local agencies. And the degree to which that took place was truly incredible. And homeowners and property owners and businesses pitching in. It was an amazing effort. And I know that it looks like the fires are out, but as you followed East Pierce, they're saying that, it's still just smoldering up on the hillside. And if you get major winds or anything coming in, it can be kicked off again. And so we have to remain to be very diligent, on this. And so until we get some heavy rains coming in, we're just going to have to, hope and pray that, things stay under control. And a final note, if you've been looking at the news, is that the massive wildfires that have taken place in California have a whole ridge of smoke that has gone down and out into the Pacific, which is now turning around and heading north and expected to come into Washington sometime tonight and tomorrow. So if we're not creating enough problems with the fires of our own, we're going to be inundated with the smoke coming in from the California, fires. And so the advisory is to stay inside, try to keep the air clean as much as you can, and just be mindful of the impacts with the amount of smoke that's going to be in the area. So anyway, but just like we have for the last week or so, we'll get through this. And it's because, the people in this area are very resilient, resourceful, cooperative, and helpful. And it really gives one a great feeling. So with that, be safe. Wear your mask, not only because of COVID, but also because of the smoke. And we will see you next week. And the meeting is adjourned at 7:01. Be safe, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.